Picture this: a stormy sea, waves crashing against jagged cliffs. A calm fjord, longships bobbing gently in the mist. A wide river, its life-giving waters flanked by reeds and watched over by basking crocodiles. These are the domains of three legendary gods of water: Poseidon, Njord, and Sobek. Welcome, brave explorers of myth and legend.
Hi, I am Asa Awan, and you are watching Hermes Mythology. Please like, share, and subscribe the channel to support me.
Today we're embarking on an epic voyage across time and culture to meet these lords of water. Our journey will take us from the sun-drenched shores of ancient Greece to the icy fjords of Scandinavia, and finally to the scorching banks of the Nile. Along the way, we'll uncover the stories, powers, and lasting legacies of these fascinating deities. So grab your sea legs, tighten your life vest, and let's dive into the mythical waters of the ancient world. Poseidon, the tempestuous ruler of the Mediterranean. Our journey begins in ancient Greece, where the wine-dark sea stretches as far as the eye can see. Suddenly, the waters churn and froth. A massive figure rises from the depths, trident in hand, long beard dripping with seawater. This is Poseidon, lord of the seas, and he's not in a good mood. Imagine you're a Greek sailor setting out on a voyage across the Mediterranean. Your success, indeed your very survival, depends on the whims of this powerful and temperamental god. One moment, he might grant you calm seas and favorable winds. The next, he could unleash a storm that would send your ship to the bottom of the sea. Why is Poseidon so moody? Well, let's take a trip to Mount Olympus and find out. Here, we see Poseidon arguing with his brothers, Zeus and Hades. "I should be the king of the gods," Poseidon roars, shaking his trident. "I'm older than Zeus." But Zeus, with his thunderbolts and sky domain, remains firmly in charge, much to Poseidon's ongoing frustration. This family drama plays out again and again in Greek myths. When Paris of Troy snubs Poseidon in favor of Aphrodite in a divine beauty contest, Poseidon's wrath helps fuel the Trojan War. When the hero Odysseus blinds Poseidon's son, the Cyclops Polyphemus, Poseidon makes sure Odysseus' journey home takes a grueling 10 years. But Poseidon isn't all storms and shipwrecks. Let's visit Athens, where we find him competing with Athena to be the city's patron god. Poseidon strikes the ground with his trident, and a saltwater spring bursts forth. It's an impressive display, but ultimately the Athenians prefer Athena's gift of an olive tree. Poseidon's reaction? He floods the Attic plain in anger. Note to self: don't get on Poseidon's bad side. As we leave Greece, we see temples to Poseidon dotting the coastline. Fishermen and sailors leave offerings, praying for safe voyages and bountiful catches. Even on land, people respect Poseidon's power. After all, with a strike of his trident, he can cause earthquakes that shake the very foundations of the earth. Poseidon's legacy lives on, not just in the ruins of ancient temples, but in our modern imagination. From the pages of Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series to the King of the Seas in The Little Mermaid, Poseidon's influence continues to ripple through our culture, much like the waves he commands. Part 2. Njord, the benevolent guardian of Norse waters. As we sail north, the warm Mediterranean gives way to the chilly waters of the North and Baltic seas. The salty sea spray carries whispers of a different sea god, Njord of the Vanir. Unlike the tempestuous Poseidon, Njord greets us with a benevolent smile. Picture him standing at the prow of a longship, his beard as white as sea foam, eyes twinkling with the wisdom of countless voyages. Where Poseidon commands fear and respect, Njord inspires trust and hope. Let's dock our ship at Noaton, Njord's seaside home. Here we find not a palace of grandeur, but a haven of peace. Ships of all sizes find safe harbor in these waters, their crews grateful for Njord's protection. Merchants and traders mill about, for Njord is not just a god of the sea, but of wealth and prosperity too. But Njord's story isn't all smooth sailing. Let's travel back in time to witness the war between the Aesir and the Vanir gods. Amid the chaos of divine battle, Njord stands as a peacemaker. When the dust settles, we see him and his children, Freyr and Freya, traveling to live with the Aesir as honored hostages, bridging the gap between the two divine families. Now, let's peek into Njord's love life. It's quite the tale. Picture a giant's daughter named Skadi arriving at the god's hall seeking vengeance for her father's death. As part of a peace settlement, she's allowed to choose a husband from among the gods, but only by looking at their feet. Skadi, hoping to snag the handsome Balder, chooses the most beautiful feet she sees. Surprise! They belong to our friend Njord. What follows is a lesson in the importance of compatibility. Njord can't stand the cold, rocky home of his new bride, while Skadi finds the screeching of seabirds at Noaton unbearable. It's a classic case of water and oil don't mix, and the two eventually go their separate ways. But Njord handles it all with his characteristic calm and wisdom. As we bid farewell to Njord, we see why the Norse people loved him so. In a harsh and unforgiving northern world, Njord represented the best of what the sea could offer. Safe travels, successful trading, and the promise of wealth and plenty. His calm demeanor and wise counsel made him a favorite among gods and mortals alike. While he might not be as famous as Thor or Odin in modern pop culture, Njord's influence can still be felt. In the resurgence of interest in Norse mythology, Njord stands as a reminder that not all powerful gods are wrathful or warlike. Sometimes, the most enduring strength comes wrapped in kindness and wisdom. Our final destination takes us to the sun-baked lands of ancient Egypt. As we sail down the Nile, the lifeblood of this ancient civilization, we catch glimpses of scaly forms sliding beneath the water's surface. These are crocodiles, both feared and revered by the Egyptians, and sacred to the god we're here to meet, Sobek. Imagine standing on the banks of the Nile during the annual flood. The waters rise, bringing with them the promise of fertile soil and abundant crops. But there's danger too. Crocodiles, normally confined to the river, can now range further afield. In this mix of promise and peril, we find Sobek. Let's visit the Temple of Sobek in Crocodilopolis. Yes, that was a real place. Here, we see something that might shock our modern sensibilities. Live crocodiles kept in sacred pools, adorned with gold and precious jewels. These are no mere reptiles, but living embodiments of Sobek himself. As we explore the temple, the walls come alive with images of Sobek. Sometimes he appears as a full crocodile, other times as a man with a crocodile's head. In one scene, we see him emerging from the primordial waters at the dawn of creation, laying the egg from which the world hatched. In another, he stands alongside the sun god Ra, helping to battle the serpent of chaos, Apophis. But Sobek's nature is as shifting as the Nile itself. In some stories, he's a friend and protector of the other gods. In others, he's a threat, needing to be kept in check. This dual nature reflects the Egyptian view of the crocodile. A dangerous predator, yes, but also a symbol of the pharaoh's power and the Nile's fertility. Speaking of pharaohs, let's peek into the royal palace. Here we see rulers adopting Sobek's name as part of their own, hoping to channel his strength and ferocity. Sobek Hotep, Sobek Neferu. These names proclaimed the pharaoh's divine right to rule, their connection to the primal forces of nature that Sobek represented. As our journey down the Nile comes to an end, we understand why Sobek was so important to the ancient Egyptians. In a land where life depended entirely on the ebb and flow of the river, Sobek embodied both the danger and the bounty of their environment. He was a reminder of nature's power, the cycle of death and rebirth, and the delicate balance between order and chaos. While Sobek might not be as well known today as gods like Osiris or Anubis, his influence persists. Continued fascination with Egyptian mythology, Sobek represents a complex understanding of nature, not simply good or evil, but powerful, necessary, and worthy of respect. As our grand voyage comes to an end, let's gather on the deck of our imaginary ship and reflect on the three incredible deities we've encountered. Each one, a lord of water in his own right, but so different. Picture them standing side by side. Poseidon, with his rippling muscles and wild beard, trident crackling with power. Njord, serene and wise, the salt of countless voyages weathering his kind face. And Sobek, an imposing figure with the head of a crocodile, embodying the raw power of nature. These gods, each born from the fears, hopes, and experiences of their people, tell us so much about the cultures that revered them. Poseidon, with his volatile temper, reflects the Greek experience of the Mediterranean, a sea of opportunity, but also of sudden, deadly storms. His tales of godly quarrels and intervention in human affairs mirror the lively, dramatic flair of Greek mythology. Njord, calm and beneficent, embodies the Norse reliance on the sea for sustenance and trade. His association with wealth and prosperity speaks to the importance of successful voyages and trade in Norse society. Even his failed marriage to Skadi tells us something about the Norse sense of humor and their understanding that not all unions, even divine ones, are meant to last. Sobek, in his crocodile glory, is pure Egypt. His connection to the Nile's annual flood reflects the Egyptian focus on cycles of death and rebirth. His dual nature, protective yet dangerous, mirrors the Egyptian view of their environment and indeed of life itself. All were seen as sources of both bounty and danger, reflecting the human understanding of water as both life-giving and potentially deadly. All played crucial roles in the economic life of their people, watched over sailors and sea traders, and were deeply connected to the power structures of their societies. As we bid farewell to Poseidon, Njord, and Sobek, we're left with a deeper appreciation of how ancient cultures personified the natural world around them. These gods, with their all-too-human personalities and superhuman powers, allowed people to feel a sense of connection to, and perhaps some control over, the vast and dangerous waters that shaped their lives. They remind us of the power of storytelling, the human need to find meaning in the natural world. Thank you for joining me on this mythical journey across time and culture.